In cinema, there's a well-known truth. Movies either live or die in the first 10 pages of the script. If those pages are bad, then the rest of the script is pretty likely to follow suit. And even if they aren't, chances are good you've already lost your audience by that point by giving them false expectations. The reason I bring this up is because I recently beat Bioshock 2 for the first time, and it's good. Really good, in fact, to the point where I feel justified in mentally lumping it in with the other Shock games, at least on a mechanical level. However, I put off playing this game for years, not because I didn't have it or couldn't run it or disliked its forebears, but because I tried playing it once before and dropped it in the first 20 minutes. Because those first 20 minutes are, well, crap. Not only that, but they're crap that in no way demonstrates what the core game is interested in exploring, and that is unacceptable, especially for a sequel to a game that debatably has the best intro to any game ever. So, for the sake of making sure nothing like this ever happens again, let's go through the intro to Bioshock 1 and see what made it so great, and the intro to Bioshock 2 and see what made it so terrible. But before we get into the actual games, let's examine what it is a game intro should do. It should do 7 things. Establish the tone so we can actually understand how we should be interpreting the events in front of us. Tone sells story far more often than the other way around. You can craft your tone through whatever means you have to, be that art, music, writing, anything. But you have to ensure the tone matches what the story is talking about, otherwise the whole work feels dissonant. 2. Set up the conflict. Basic stuff. Explain who we're supposed to like and who we're supposed to hate, why we should feel that way, and why we want to help them. Otherwise, why are we here? 3. Introduce the player character. Even if they're silent, we need to know who we are and our relation to the setting. We don't need to know who Link's parents are, but we do need to know how the world around him views him. Otherwise, it feels like a weird, out-of-body experience, and our place in the world will lack any weight. In that same vein, 4. Establish the world we're in and the status quo of that world. That second bit is especially important and the most likely to be overlooked. If we don't know what the status quo of the world is, then when things start to go haywire, we don't have a point of reference for how things should be, and all of the unusual events that follow will lack any bite. 5. Demonstrate or foreshadow the mechanics. This is where you put the first taste of your gameplay. However, your intro does not need to serve as a tutorial. In fact, it can be completely absent of any kind of intensive mechanical interaction and only be about establishing the world. But you do have to, in some way, show how the game will play. A great example of this is Zelda, which almost never gives you any weapons or complex items for the first 10 to 30 minutes, but still demonstrates what the gameplay will be like by sending you exploring for minor quests such as finding your sister, thereby setting up that this is a game more than anything about exploration and discovery. 6. If your game is narratively focused, set the stage for the themes you want to explore so when you start talking about it, it doesn't feel like it's coming out of nowhere. And finally, 7. Ensure there are no plot holes. The last thing you want to do is pull your audience out of the experience before it's even begun. You can accomplish all these steps in rapid succession or spread them out and accomplish them in any order, but failure to accomplish any one of them weakens the intro, which in turn weakens the overall game considerably, first impressions and all of that. That being said, let's begin by looking at the first section of Bioshock 1. Bioshock 1 opens through the eyes of your player character on a plane, establishing that he's a Rapture outsider. And if you've played this game, I want you to look at this frame, and I mean really look at it. Because if you've completed the game, you will see some killer foreshadowing. Even this early in the plot, it's setting up its themes, however subtle that might be. In this cinematic, we get the only spoken words from our player character.
They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
They appear cliche on the surface, but coming back to this section upon completing the story brings a bit of a sinister air to these lines, especially if you're inclined towards the evil route. And just like that, we know who we're playing and their relationship to the world. The plane goes down and you rise to the surface, surrounded by fire, lighthouse in the distance. This gives you the immediate goal of getting on land and lays the groundwork for the constant sense of both anxiety and discovery that permeate the game. The lights click on one by one, revealing the Art Deco interior dominated by the mounted bust of antagonist Andrew Ryan above a banner with a simple message. No gods or kings, only In 6 words, this statement is able to define Rapture's entire reason for being. However, in case this wasn't apparent enough for you, Andrew Ryan himself spells out both his personal philosophy and the philosophy of the city upon entering the bathysphere. Then, the projector screen is pulled back as you ascend the ocean ridge, and we are granted our first view of Rapture. I want us to take a second to just drink in this view. This full minute here is an interactive painting. It's what would have happened if William Van Arlen had been granted godhood, an absolute holy land of cathedrals of commerce. Even if you know nothing about Art Deco and its history, it's clear from the non-stop advertisements, colossal skyscrapers, and sheer complexity of this place that one thing is true. Wealth is everything here. But upon closer inspection, you realize something's off. Something's wrong. You don't see anyone. Every bridge you pass is vacant, save one where you see something that doesn't look exactly human. As you pull into the dock, you hear Atlas begin to form plans to collect you, but with a sense of urgency and panic in his voice. Something isn't right here. As you complete your entrance, welcome signs light up one after another until the last one. The word city sparks out, killing the sign. That seals it. Something is wrong here. And just in case you weren't convinced, here, have your first splicer.
Is it someone new?
More will still be done to develop these, but it's safe to say that both the tone and the themes have been set. Atlas tells you to follow the splicer. You round the corner, find her, and Atlas trips the alarm system on her, foreshadowing your own ability to control the inhabitants of Rapture. Shortly after, you get your first kill, proving this will, in fact, be a first-person action game. Then, you get your first plasmid, and the cutscene that follows demonstrates just how potent and altering the power of Adam is. Further reinforced by your first really good look at an Adam-deformed splicer as they comb you for the substance in a desperate bid to fend off withdrawal. Then you see your first little sister, and you get your first real look at a Big Daddy. This place has fallen apart in ways you have yet to fully grasp, but you can already tell that this isn't the kind of world you want to be in, a world where murder and addiction are the norm, and it's coming for you. You stand back up, zap the door lock with your new Electrobolt, and carry on with both the world and status quo established and mechanics effectively set in place. Finally, you carry on to the elevator where Atlas tells you about how splicers are monsters that have cut him off from his family and begs you to help him get them back. And, you know, why not? He's essentially saved your life so far and he seems like nice enough of a guy. Let's do it. You're further incentivized to help him when at the end of the level he saves you from Ryan, who turns out to be kind of a selfish, paranoid dick who just wants you killed because you're a new face. So it's pretty easy to side with Atlas and hate Ryan, thereby setting up the conflict. There are a couple other things done here and there, such as showing you how strong plasmids can be, handing you a super accurate pistol to allow you to practice aiming, and showing you the true power of Big Daddies. But at this point, everything else is just further reinforcing what we already know. The intro's job is done, and then some. And all without any plot holes. Oh, God damn it, I should have made Vaporwave the background music. God damn it. So now let's compare this to Bioshock 2. Before we get going, I want to emphasize that I think Bioshock 2 is actually a really good game and think you should play it. But I am about to just tear into this intro. I will also be analyzing this under the assumption that the audience has played Bioshock 1 before playing this because, let's be honest, maybe 3 people played Bioshock 2 without playing Bioshock 1 first. In addition, I want to make it clear that Bioshock 2 is thematically about the dangers of collectivism. Keep that in mind. You open in the first-person view of a Big Daddy approaching a vent before knocking on it. Already we have a problem here. This is Eleanor, your little sister. She is the axis on which the entire plot spins. However, she is introduced with no fanfare, no charisma. In fact, chances are you probably only saw her as a random dime-a-dozen little sister. You don't even get her name if you don't have subtitles on. This girl is the plot of this game, and the entire first impression we can get from her is little girl. She does not stand out in any way, be it design or personality. You briefly catch a glimpse of yourself, letting you know that yes, you are a big daddy, as she leads you by the hand down the hall to harvest a corpse, and while it's interesting to view from this perspective, there's no real new information here for the Bioshock veteran, and it doesn't really do anything to inform what the experience of being a big daddy is. Hell, even for a newbie, I imagine this is just confusing. Why did that 10-year-old drink a baby bottle filled with blood? You carry on into a party, and here things get even weirder. If you weren't aware that this section takes place during the height of Rapture, you do now, but this entire section fails to give any meaningful insight to what the place was like before its fall, and due to its nature as a flashback, fails to give us any useful info as to what the world we will actually be inhabiting is like. You enter the party and, well, no one seems to really care. This is especially weird because you come to find out you are playing as Subject Delta, the first Big Daddy put to work. This guy freaks out when you walk by, but everyone else is just like, seen it before, whatevs. So we're given two contradictory lines of logic here. One, that Big Daddies are normal and not worth taking note of, or two, that the sight alone of one is still shocking. You could say that just this guy is specifically scared of Big Daddies, but that doesn't change that I'm still conflicted on how I'm supposed to feel about being in this guy's shoes. Also, why wasn't this whole section just playable? What's the matter, Jordan Thomas? Don't trust me to walk? You hear your little sister scream and you get to Big Daddying. Once again though, we come back to the contradiction of how this world feels about me, because for some reason, these Randys aren't afraid of me in the least. Somehow they're able to look at my 7 feet, 400 pounds of drill-powered murder and just be like, whatever, to get this guy out of here. Also, this is before the fall of Rapture, and these guys are right outside of a high-class party with lead pipes and covered in blood, and no one says anything. I know Rapture had police. One of them was kind of a big minor character in the first game. Yeah, that's what I thought, idiot. Okay, then this guy, who isn't even a character, hits you with Hypnotize and then just vanishes, never to be seen again. The actual main antagonist, Sophia Lamb, appears and lectures you like you're a creature with free will and tells you to remove your helmet. Okay, I need to double check this, but I'm fairly certain Big Daddies had their flesh grafted into their suits. Look, let me find the audio. Yeah, here's the audio diary. Here, listen to it.
You can no reuse protector suit. Take a man, graft the skin and organs straight into suit. Otherwise, your suit will not work.
So this action should, at minimum, be accompanied by a flashing red screen to indicate pain, or ideally the sound of Delta going ow, 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 ow. She then orders you to shoot yourself in the head. They are now lying about game mechanics. You get the hypnotized plasmid later on, and you cannot do this with it, and it is never brought up again. Also, I hate to be this guy, but this shot is just terribly framed. Eleanor is clearly supposed to be the subject here, but she is neither in the center nor is she following the rule of thirds, and it looks bad. We haven't even gotten to gameplay yet. Some might argue that this whole scene serves to set up the conflict, but I'd argue no, this merely gives you a goal, just something to do. It doesn't give us a reason to hate Lamb or like Eleanor. In fact, it gave me sympathy for Lamb. Her actions at this point are completely defensible. She's a mother whose child was stolen. I don't blame her for trying to kill a monster to get her back. Admittedly, this choice turns out to be the worst for Eleanor, but as an introduction to Lamb, it just makes her sympathetic. I want to be clear on this. This intro so far has made us apathetic towards the person we're supposed to love, and sympathetic to the person we're supposed to hate. And let's recap, we are 4 minutes in, and all we have accomplished is setting up the villain, except not really, and trying to establish who we are playing, and failing. To compare, this was Bioshock 1's scorecard by 4 minutes in. Not doing great. You wake up 10 years later, and why is my helmet on? Was rendering a helmetless Big Daddy just too hard for you? Couldn't even be bothered to reverse the helmet removing animation? Look, I'll do it right now. It is not that hard. It's here we finally begin to get some establishment of the world. You look around and realize the room is coated in coral, really selling just how much the sea is encroaching on Rapture. It's a good look, and it does a great job of making it feel like a lot of time has passed since we were last here. This, combined with seeing splicers shortly thereafter, set the stage and the status quo. Rapture's still the same, but it is falling apart. You enter this hallway and catch your first glimpse of the Big Sister, the new apex predator of Rapture, before watching two splicers murder each other. Remember how I said this game was thematically about the dangers of collectivism? Well, the first bit of unjustified violence we see in both the opening cinematic and here in-game are caused by selfish individualism, the same theme as the last game. Not to mention it contradicts the game's own story of the Splicers being part of Lamb's Rapture family now. It's also at this point that it becomes pretty clear that in spite of your role as a Big Daddy, not much has changed in terms of the tone the game wants to present. It still wants to make you feel like you're weak and disempowered despite being a human tank. This is made worse by your character freaking out when he injects his first plasmid, which makes no sense. The only reason Jack freaked out in the original is he'd never injected a plasmid before. That's why Atlas said that it was rewriting his DNA, why those addicted splicers said that he had his cherry popped. But you're a Big Daddy. You're basically 90% Adam from the get-go. Everything about this game thus far feels like a rehash with some desperate fan service thrown in. Upon waking up, Big Sister grabs a hallucinatory Eleanor for some reason, and in the process ruins her own reveal by giving you a clear glimpse of her, and dispelling any kind of mystery about what the shadowy figure was before you ever got a chance to fight it. You get your first bit of legit combat, thereby demonstrating the gameplay, however limply. Then the worst thing ever happens. Tannenbaum radios you. This is one of the most transparent and weak-willed attempts at pandering I have ever seen, made worse by the fact that she exits the plot shortly thereafter, never to be seen again. Meanwhile, you have to wait nearly a full level to be introduced to your actual radio companion in this game, Sinclair. There is no good reason that Sinclair shouldn't be the one calling you over the radio, and this only serves to deceive you into thinking Tannenbaum will be the good guy you're supposed to be helping. She isn't. Sinclair is. The only reason she's here is because she's a fan favorite. Pure and simple. It's around here that you begin to hear Lamb over the radio talking to the Rapture family with this authoritarian parental voice. However, there's no implications of utilitarianism or hardcore collectivism in her words.
This is Dr. Sophia Lamb with a message for the people. Remember, you are not alone. Think of me not as leader, but as mother to the Rapture family.
They're a little weird to be sure, but knowing what we know about Rapture, there are sure as hell worse things than trying to bring them together to get them clean. Compare this to Ryan's first words when he clearly spells out his philosophy. Then you pick up the worst gun in the series and fight the Big Sister. The lack of build-up and eagerness to get to the payoff is frankly just lazy. They were so eager to show off their Big Daddy 2.0 that they threw all aspects of pacing out the window. As such, this fight is an annoying slog where you have no choice in strategy other than to spam lightning and rivets. Then Lamb talks more.
This is Dr. Sophia Lamb with a message for the people. Remember, Big Sister is always watching.
Oh, you're not even f***ing trying! At least Bioshock 1 had enough self-respect to turn Ayn Rand into an anagram. Oh my god, I hate this so goddamn much. I'm okay. Then Big Sister tries to drown you, you get a cool underwater section, kill some more splicers, and finally get Lamb's attention, where she tries to kill you in the exact same goddamn way Ryan did in 1. Except worse. Ryan had like 12 people cast an intimidating shadow ready to tear your very human character apart if Atlas didn't hack you out. Lamb locks you in a room and has 3 splicers shoot at you. Those gunshots knock out the windows, but for some reason you can't walk through them. Then the floor gives out, and apparently there was nothing but 2 layers of wood between the doormen who used to work here and the icy ocean floor. This, as far as I'm concerned, is the end of the intro. From here you begin to engage in what becomes the game's standard encounters, which honestly are where the game really shines. And it's around the time you get to Ryan's amusements that the game actually starts to develop a sense of charisma again. However, I never saw that in my first attempted playthrough because I was bored and annoyed out of my skull by this train wreck of an intro. I cut off around 15 minutes into the game. Let's compare scorecards, shall we? At 15 minutes, Bioshock 1 had accomplished 5 out of the 7 points, and would accomplish the remaining 2 and then some over the next 3 minutes. And how did we do with Bioshock 2? We've established gameplay in the world, failed at foreshadowing mechanics, made a ton of plot holes, muddled the tone, failed to demonstrate if I should be feeling powerful being in the shoes of a big daddy or if I should be feeling just like some Randy, thereby giving me no sense of character, and introduced an ally who has no serious function in the story while making the villain seem sympathetic. Around 25 minutes in is when we actually finally meet Sinclair, our actual ally. So 15 minutes in, we've accomplished 2 of the goals and accomplished 3 if we gave it 10 more. This is not great. This may sound surprising to you after this whole long rant, but I do really want to emphasize one last time that I did really enjoy Bioshock 2. It had some great writing, fascinating alternate takes on Rapture, and did a great job of showing how much further Rapture could fall. It also has the best combat of any Shock game. However, I had to wait for years to experience that because of how trash this opening was, and that shouldn't have been the case. Minor changes could have made this opening so much more engaging. Make the opening more playable, let me explore old Rapture, have Lamb set a trap where she willfully sacrifices an innocent for her family's greater good. Have her spell out her beliefs to me, jump 10 years and show me how those beliefs have made things worse. And for God's sake, keep Big Sister in the background for longer. Super basic shit. For all of the clear effort that was put into the art and the overall story, it's genuinely sad to see how little they cared about how it would seem initially, as though they expected the player to simply be in awe because it was Bioshock 2. And it is Bioshock 2, and that is a good thing, but it doesn't give you a pass to be crap, especially when we know all too well that you can do better.